Good morning, third grade. Okay, so all this week we have been learning the different ways to multiply and the different ways to show multiplication. And so what we want to do today is I want to teach you a different strategy. Now, before I share my screen, I have this feeling that some of us aren't watching the videos and we're just kind of doing the activity. And I noticed that yesterday when I was looking at some of your work. Guys, you have to be watching the videos. I try to make them as short as I can so that they aren't too long and that I can keep your attention. But you got to watch them to be able to understand the strategies. So I don't want to if you're like, oh, I know how to do multiplication, I know how to do arrays, but you're not showing me the right strategies, then it's not going to be right. Okay. I got a third grader. Okay. And we watch our videos. I even make her watch the video of me. And sometimes she can tell me that it's not very good, but that's okay. It's fine. But we still watch them and I still make her go through all of them. Okay. I try to make them as short as I can because I know the first thing that you're doing is you're looking at that YouTube down the bottom to see how long is this meeting going to last or how long is this video. So I want you to make sure that you are really watching what we're doing. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go through our vocabulary. So we learned about equal groups. We learned about repeated addition. We learned about arrays. And we learned that the arrays, you have to make sure they're so pretty and that the dots are organized because it can really affect how like your numbers go. And I know that was a lot of work because I did one that was 45, remember? So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at number lines. So it shouldn't be hard, okay? It's actually kind of easier. But let's go through our vocabulary before I jump in onto number lines. So in multiplication, you are working with equal groups, okay? You are working with equal groups. You are joining together equal groups. It's very similar to addition. The only difference between multiplication and addition is that addition has unequal groups and multiplication has equal groups. So that's the only difference. Here you have your factors. This symbol here, okay, it means times, groups of, and it's now going to mean jumps of. And so this is how I'll know if you're watching the video, because that's really going to affect the way that you give me your answer and a lot of the problems that you see. So factors, the multiplication symbol can mean groups of, jumps of. So make sure that you're looking at that. And then our product, the answer to a multiplication problem is product. All right, so let's look. I want us to look at some of our example. So here, the way that we write it, it says 3 jumps of 7, okay? So we are looking, you always look to see what you're counting by to start out. So you have 0, 7, 14, 21. So we are counting by sevens. And then you figure out the number of jumps. We had 1, 2, 3. Okay, so then we put in our multiplication symbol. Okay, this again means jumps of. So let's think about it. How many jumps did we take? 3. We had 3 jumps of 7. And the very last one that we landed on was 21. So 3 jumps of 7 gets me to 21. Okay, so let's look at some example problems. Okay, first thing, you figure out what you're counting by. So you look to see what each arrow is stopping at. So we have 0, 3, 6, and 9. So what are we counting by? We're counting by 3s, okay? Now let's see how many jumps we made. We had 1, 2, 3. We had 3 jumps, okay? So let's figure out how we write that. So our multiplication symbol means jumps of. Okay, so how many jumps did we make? We made 1, 2, 3. So we made 3 jumps of, and what were we counting by? 3. So we made 3 jumps of 3, and the last arrow that we landed on was 9. So 3 jumps of 3 equals 9. So my equation is 3 times 3 equals 9. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, so the first thing we do is we figure out what we're counting by. We have 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So what do you think we're counting by? We're counting by 2s. Okay, now let's figure out how many jumps we make. Okay, this is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then that very last jump, we landed on 24. Okay, so my multiplication symbol means jumps of. Okay, so how many jumps did I take? I took 12 jumps of, what were we counting by? 2. So I took 12 jumps of 2. And what did it get me? My last number I landed on was 24. So 12 jumps of 2 equals 24. So my equation is 12 times 2 equals 24. Okay, let's look at one more. Always, again, let's start out with figuring out what we're counting by. We have 0, 5, 10, 15. So we're counting by 5s. Okay, now let's figure out how many jumps. We made 1 jump, 2, 3. And our final jump left us on the number 15. Okay, so now let's put it into an equation. Remember, our multiplication symbol means jumps of. So how many jumps did I make? I had 3 jumps of, and what was I counting by? 5. So 3 jumps of 5 got me to that very last number that I landed on, 15. So my equation is 3 times 5 equals 15. Okay, so that's kind of what your assignment's going to look like. But here's what I want you to make sure. If you, in your practice, put 5 times 3 equals 15, they are going to count it wrong. Because in this model, you did not make 5 jumps of 3. That's not what this model looked like. It was not 5 jumps. You made 3 jumps of 5. So it's really important that number 1, you watched the video. And number 2, you understand that this multiplication symbol means jumps of. We made 3 jumps of 5, okay? So you have to make sure, because it's going to count it wrong. And when you say, well, why did I get that grade? I'm gonna say, did we watch the video? Because some of us are going to say it's 5 times 3. But your mod, and while the fact is correct, 5 times 3 does equal 15, that is not what my model is showing. My model is not showing 5 jumps of 3. My model is showing 3 jumps of 5. So make sure that you've watched the video and you understand that this is jumps of. And I'm writing it in because I myself have to remind myself that it's jumps of. Okay, so that is what your what some of your problems are going to look like. Make sure you take your time looking at each one of them. All right, go ahead and get started.